I am super excited because we have Ryan Reynolds, the star of Green Lantern, and a little movie called Deadpool that's going to be. Wait, he is the guest, right? You booked Ryan Reynolds? I asked for Ryan, right?
You got it 50-50 right.
We got Ryan?
Yeah, we got Ryan.
Oh, it's Ryan Hendrickson. Let's see if I have him here. There he is. Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
It's not Ryan Reynolds. It's not the star of Green Lantern and Deadpool, but we have Ryan Hendrickson all the way from Iowa.
When I contacted Alex, he goes by Alex, it actually wasn't for Maracaibo at all. I made a roll and write version of Great Western Trail. I played with him online on Tabletop Simulator. I made a little mod that he could play with me online. He liked it, so he kind of took it to the publisher. I think Plan B Games has the rights to Great Western Trail. So this was about when they were going to release the second and third versions, Argentina and New Zealand. So they were working on that pretty heavily at the time. So they weren't about to start a roll and write. So he got back to me and said, well, they're not really interested in this, at least now. So I said, what about doing Maracaibo instead? So at the time, we were thinking about a Maracaibo roll and write of some sort. And so we thought about it. I pitched some ideas to him. He had a few ideas that went back to me. And so I sort of just put something together. I'm like, let's see what this might look like. And pretty quickly we decided this won't work as a roll and write. It's going to have to be a little bit more than that. So we said, what if we made the map out of cards? And it sort of just went from there. And then it's turned out what it is now. You know, it took us a little bit longer than the roll and writes, just because it's a bigger game than that. But we worked on it for 6 months or so, and we're pretty happy with the way it came out.
So Ryan, the games that you're talking about are all, good medium weight traditional type Euros. Is that your wheelhouse?
That's what I enjoy playing. That's kind of where I think I would be strongest at. It's funny. I played with Rob and a couple other guys at a meetup a couple weeks ago, and we played a Laissez game. I think it was the Inventions or something like that.
Right, Inventions.
Okay. That was a little too much for me. I mean, I could process it and I could play it, but boy, that wasn't sort of what my brain was ready to handle. I
always enjoy playing Lacerda games, and it's exactly what you say. The first time I play it, I'm just pushing buttons and watching what happens, like pulling gears and seeing when I hit this lever, what's going to come out of this mousetrap. But like winning the game, I have no clue. No clue. That first
no expectation to win. I just wanted to get through without embarrassing myself to the other guys.
The worst thing about a Lacerda game is they're generally, the mechanics themselves are generally pretty simple, right?
Yep.
But there's always one rule that says something like in Lisboa, it says, and if you have nothing else to do, you can discard a card for a coin and another card or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you never want to take this one. Like, it's in the rule book.
In the rule book.
And you never want to take this one. And Vital posts on there, this is not an actual action. This is like, if you have nothing else to do, this is your saving grace. You're going to do this to get a coin and get a card. And when I play his games, whatever that rule is, and it's in every one of his games, that's my whole. I win if the first time I play his game and I don't have to
do that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's a win, Steve.
Don't have to do the one thing he told you not to do.
Not to do.
I didn't embarrass myself.
That's a low bar for success, BJ. I just don't want to do what Vital says was the absolute wrong thing to do, and then I feel like I've won.
I mean, it's a pretty low bar, but if you play enough Lacerda games, I mean, there's just sometimes where you just box yourself in, and that's it. God, I don't want that to happen. And so far, I haven't had to do that in Lisboa. So I count it as a win that I may not win Lisboa, but at least I'm not taking that pretty bad action.
Yep, I was cruising along, and I thought, well, I'm doing much better than I thought I would. And then on the last action, which I think there's like 13 or 14 actions or something like that, I literally did nothing because I couldn't get that one more thing to do this one more thing, and so I just said pass.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that is so disappointing, right? When you don't set up that last turn, it's just,
yep.
It's so in any type of game. So Pirates of Maracaibo. Steve, I have never played Maracaibo. Have you played it?
I have not. I've played a lot of Fister games, but not Maracaibo.
The only thing I know about Maracaibo is that, from what I understand, it's if you've played Great Western Trail, we're going to remember that that it's sort of going around, like Great Western Trail is going around the town and stopping in different spots, and we're building up the town as we do that. So it's sort of a big giant version of a rondel, and I've heard that Maracaibo also kind of has that, but Pirates does it a little different. So tell me, Ryan, the backstory. Were you a pretty big fan of Maracaibo, or is this your attempt to take what you liked out of it and maybe emphasize that more than the stuff that you didn't like?
Okay, so I was a fan of Maracaibo. Unfortunately, I play a lot of games with my wife, and she didn't really care for it that much.
Oops.
Well, she likes other Fister games. She really loves Great Western Trail, but Maracaibo didn't click for her.
Boone Lake?
Yeah, it's Boone Lake. That's another one she was a little so-so on. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The point was I did like it, but didn't get a chance to play it very much. Then when we started working on this, I guess I wouldn't say I was trying to change it at all. We were just trying to, I would say, make a different version that was, in the same thematic universe, but a lighter game that was a little bit easier to teach, not as long of a playtime, and just we thought it would just fill a different category as far as gamers. We thought this could appeal to a little bit lighter crowd. Not that it's a featherlight game. It's still medium for sure, but it is definitely lighter than Maracaibo.
Steve, the elevator pitch I heard today, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about it, and it's a quicker game, easier to set up, and has pirates. What do you think, Ryan? Is that a decent approximation?
I would say yes. So as far as setup, if you've got the playmat that comes from Capstone, that makes the setup even easier because it's got the spaces already laid out for you. All
right, so here we've got a shot of the cards on the left side, right?
Yep.
Can you blow up the image, BJ?
Yeah, let me see if I can get you a big version of that. How's that?
Yeah, so that doesn't have the playmat. Not that you have to have the playmat, but
no playmat on this one?
Yep. So if you see, you're kind of laying the cards out on the table, and they are they're staggered. So each card on the left will touch 2 on the right. So that's how you determine your movement. You can move. You're moving from left to right, and you just sort of hop from card to card. You can move 1 to 3 spaces, or 1 to 3 cards on each of your turns.
So that's a little different. In Maracaibo, you can move like up to 6 or 7 spaces, if I remember right.
Yes, that's correct. And there's some branching paths in Maracaibo, but it's more like you can take the north side of this island or the south side of this island, and you'll end up in the same place. Well, in Pirates, we lay out, I think it's 29 cards, maybe, and depending on where you put some of the obstacles, which are those cardboard, the gold, emerald, and pearl islands.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So what we're looking at now is just the standard layout, but in the rule book there's some alternate layouts, and we even went as far as to say, as long as you keep to the basic shape of the Caribbean, you can set the map up however you'd like. So you can use those cardboard pieces, the gold, emerald, and pearl islands, to sort of make obstacles. You can make bottlenecks, or you can put them all in the corner and have a wide open map. You can.
Steve, I think he's referring to those. See the one up in the upper left, and the one in the middle, and the one all the way to the upper right. That's what you're talking about, Ryan.
Yep, those are the treasure islands. So
okay,
what those are mainly obstacles, but also that's where when you gain treasures, you take them from that island, and there's a kind of a scoring track on each of those. As you take treasures from the island, you're making the value go down. But there's also ways, for instance, landing on some of the locations to then increase it back up. Or there are also some actions you can take to increase the value. So it's a little bit of a mini market for each of the treasures. You want to take them, but you also want the value to stay high. So it's a little push and pull.
And one of the things that intrigues me also, if I remember right, as you're going on these paths, you're interacting with the spaces that you land on, but then you're also flipping over from the deck for people that come behind you. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. So there's 3 types of cards. There's improvement cards, which are the ones that you can land on and simply purchase. Whatever the cost is in the corner, you pay that cost and you take that and put it in front of you.
So we see those 2 that are right next to that island in the bottom left. Those are 2 that you could actually just purchase, right?
Yep. Exactly. So some of those are immediate actions. Some of them are ongoing benefits that you can use with future actions.
Little engine building.
Yep, exactly. And some of them are even end game scoring conditions. Like if you have this many pearls at the end of the game, you get some additional points. So those are the improvement cards, and those are the ones that are replaced with cards from the tier 2 deck as soon as they're purchased. So someone coming in behind you can see this new card and say, oh wow, I would like to go to that new card, and they've got first shot at it. There are also some the cards with the sort of the whitish light gray background. Those are called residences. So those are for people that have played Maracaibo, the base game. Those are a little bit like the prestige buildings, where you can invest in those, and each player can do those. You don't take them in front of you. You just put a marker on them saying that you've purchased those. And those are very expensive, but they provide a lot of end game points. And then the third type of card is the location. So those are the ones that look like an island, and they've got sort of a banner over the middle of them.
Oh, so like the 2 that are on the other side of that gray one with the black ship on it.
Yep, exactly. So those ones are their locations. So that's where you do most of your main actions. So you can do ship upgrades at those, and then you also do a main action such as raiding or moving your explorer, which without going into too much detail, the explorer is on the right side of the board there. You've got a guy that kind of moves through the jungle.
Oh yeah, I see that
in Maracaibo.
And that represents the island of Maracaibo, right?
Yes. Yep. Okay. So they start in the city and they kind of work inland around that lake there. And the further you move your explorer, the more benefits you can get from that.
So it's like going through the Caribbean, Steve, and you're either interacting with other pirates and I guess battling them and taking their loot, right? Or landing in the ports and trading things and working with them.
It's abstracted a little bit, but yes, that's the idea, that you go into port and maybe you raid some gold from whoever the locals are there. So you take it back to your hideout. So the player boards are meant to look like hideouts where you've got places to bury some loot on your island there.
I forgot to check who did the artwork in here. And did you have any say-so over that?
The artwork was done. I'm not sure. You'd have to check the BGG listing for the cover art, but Christian Fiore is the one that does the graphic design and the art on the cards.
Okay. Christian Fiore and Odysseus Stamaglu.
Yeah, he or she must be the one that did the cover art.
And I guess DLP was doing all that. Not you didn't have any say so over that, right?
we got to preview all the materials to just make sure it all looked correctly, but I didn't have anything involved with the art direction, if that's
right.
what you're. Yeah.
And then the end result, I guess, is that, and you do this, if I remember right, 3 times, right? You'll send your ships through the Caribbean, and the end is when you get to Maracaibo. Is it like first to Maracaibo, or is it when everybody gets to Maracaibo?
Okay, so there's a space before Maracaibo that we call the Gulf, and it is you must stop there. So the first player that gets there stops there, does the Gulf action, which is for the most part a more powerful action than most of the locations. And then at that point, the rest of the players take one more turn in which they could also reach the Gulf. They don't have to, but they could. And then after everyone's taken that turn, the player that went to the Gulf first then moves into Maracaibo for another action, which is gain a certain number of points and do a ship upgrade. And then the round resets with the next player in player order. So then it works that way, with the exception of the third round where you would finish the round so that everyone has the same number of turns.
So the Gulf is Kansas City.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah,
to some extent, except not everybody gets there that same way.
Yeah, it's more similar to Maracaibo than it is Great Western Trail in that respect, because in Maracaibo you sail to Havana, and whoever makes it there, or is Havana the starting spot? Now I forget. Doesn't matter. But anyway, when they get there, the whole group resets, not just the person that got there. So
it's kind of a more linear, but with branches rondel. So it's more like it's a full path, and then the typewriter comes back to the carrot turns back to the start for the next round.
So what we think is interesting about it is, so the locations never change. When they're dealt out, that's going to be the loop for the game. So you could play the entire game jumping from location to location and never make any improvements. You could do that. I've never seen anybody do it, but you could. So
not a winning strategy.
Probably not a winning strategy. So that loop could be the same every time. But what we think is interesting is all these improvement cards around it that give you other choices while you're making your loop. Well, this first location is really good for me, so I'm going to hit it all 3 rounds. But my second turn in the round, maybe I'll go up here and pick up this improvement card, or maybe I'll go down here and go to the second location. And so as the board changes, you have more and more opportunities to change your loop, which is something that you can't really do as much in Maracaibo. So we thought that was at least an improvement on the base game.
Jojo had a question for you. So he wanted to know if the story decks in the original Maracaibo, and whether there's a mechanic like that in Pirates, and if so, how extensive and replayable is it? I don't know that there are any. Were you able to bring in the story decks at all?
There's no story decks in this one. I would say like our tier 2 deck is in the 40s, and you usually don't go through anywhere close to those during the course of a game. So you will see different cards every time you play.
Okay.
But what is I think more interesting is the way the locations are dealt out and which residence cards are out there. The residents are the end game scoring cards that you can see from the beginning. So an experienced player can look at the board, see a path, see which residences are out there, and they can choose a route that they would like to go down at the very beginning. And that will be different every single game.
Okay.
So while it does lack any story, it is, I would say, nearly infinitely replayable.
Is this the big coming out party for Pirates at Gen Con, or is it going to be a bigger release at Essen? Do you know?
So it came out at Essen last year in Europe. Okay. So DLP did an English language version and I think a German. So Games Up is the originating publisher, but they partner with DLP for a little wider distribution.
I don't know Games Up. Steve, are you familiar with Games Up?
No, not at all.
So Games Up is a small company. Ralph is Ralph Beanart. He's the owner operator. It's basically just a one-man show, and Alex and I have been, I would say, it's not like we're co-publishers, but we're helping a lot with the development. We're not just the designers; we are also doing the development.
And Games Up is a German publisher?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. He's in Germany.
And then DLP and Capstone. Capstone's doing the US.
Yes. So yes, Ralph has partners all over the world. They've got a Spanish, Italy, French, all these that are all coming out about now. So it's been out for 9 months in Europe in English and German, but now in North America it's coming out through Capstone, and most of the rest of Europe is getting it now in their own language.
So did you get a chance to go to Essen to see the big coming out?
Nope, no. Right in the middle of harvest, so no go.
That's a tough one.
Yep.
That's a dream of me and Steve's, to take a trip to Essen.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Someday on that. So, Steve, any other questions? It sounds like this is there's a lot of changes. I mean, it seems like these would be complementary in a collection, not one outweighing the other.
Yeah. Is it multi-use cards? Is the back of the cards kind of like in Port Royal? Is that money?
Nope. So
it just has that look of it.
Okay. No, those are just if you're looking at the back of those cards, those are quest cards. So they're sort of like in-game objectives. Like you have a couple of them face up, and there are certain actions you can take either at locations or by making improvements, or even on your shipboard, where you can pick up these quests along the way. So they work a little bit differently than the quests in the base game, but they're a little bit, I would say, you're able to do them without the multi-use. So the only extra thing on these cards, besides just the action or victory points they provide, is there's also an income that happens between rounds. So in the lower left, if you can see that, most of the improvement cards will provide an income of either points or doubloons that you'll gain between them.
Okay. And did it make it more accessible to your loved ones? Did it make a Maracaibo that's going to get to the table in your house?
Well, I have a 12-year-old son that I taught how to play this. He's played with me a couple times so far, and he beat me on the second time. I wouldn't say that I necessarily let him win, but I wanted the game to be competitive. So we he was able to process the rules just fine, and so I guess yes, it is accessible to at least 12-year-olds. So
good.
And Peak
I've never had the luxury of letting family win, because they beat me on a regular basis anyway. It's not like I'm going easy on them.
Well, I wouldn't say I let him win, but I was assisting him on nearly every turn.
Good.
You encourage the experience.
Yes.
All right, and Pirates of Maracaibo is available at Gen Con. Also, I know that some of the guys in the Gumbo have been saying that their pre-orders are on the way, so we should be, hopefully we'll be playing this pretty soon. And I see there's even an expansion for it, maybe even one or two, commanders and new figureheads. Is that something you can get at Gen Con, or is it something that's coming out?
The new figureheads, I think, are being sold with the game at Gen Con. If you're ordering through Capstone, they have a bundle where you can get the new figureheads and the playmat. So the what you just showed, that's an upcoming expansion that's not quite out yet.
Oh, okay.
We're working on that as we speak. In fact, right before I came on, Alex and I were talking last minute adjustments before we submit some of the files. So that's coming soon, but it's not available at Gen Con.
Commanders. Oh, this is looking pretty good. Pirates of Maracaibo. I will tell you, Steve, I kind of dug around getting ready for the show, watched a bunch of reviews. I've yet to find a bad review. Ryan, you guys are getting some really good, like 8.5s, some big numbers from a lot of people that I like. Johannes and Sonova. Steve, I know you like that channel too.
Yes.
They both gave it just the highest marks. So
excellent.
Chris and Wendy Yee, another couple that gave it. Cam was making it sound like it's his game of the century. So it's tough to tell with Cam though. When he likes a game, he gets really excited about it. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we hope players like it. So
we'll be getting it played as soon as Jeremy gets his copy.